Hi everyone, and JesterBell is here with another video, and people are screaming again, and they're screaming. Hello everyone, JesterBell is here with another video, and what I'm going to talk about today is the latest female superhero movie to bomb, which was Madam Web. Talked about this enough. Very heartbroken that it bombed, very shocking. I'm just kidding, but there's a lot of talk about female superheroes again because of it, and there's a lot of negative talk, and I want to throw my hat in the ring of all of that negative talk because I love female heroes, and I want to see them done well on screen, and I actually don't like seeing all of the negative talk on female heroes, and I think that there are some very untrue things said about female superheroes. I'm going to be talking mainly about female superheroes in this video, but I think that there are some very untrue narratives that are coming out in the wake of this Madam Web movie bombing, and people essentially using this for some reason to be another point of that people don't like female superheroes and they won't go see them. That can be disproven so very easily, and I want to get into that, but I want to talk about Hollywood's bad history with female superheroes and why, while I love female superheroes, they've just been treated so poorly, and how the reactions and the misunderstandings from these Hollywood executives have damaged them. So going back to the beginning, with you would have, like, back when there weren't very many superhero films, you had Supergirl, which was a really bad movie, made I think in the 80s, and it was a flop. The 2000s came along and we started to have Hollywood actually start taking the genre a little bit more seriously and see if they could get it to work, and they came out with two female superhero movies at this time, Catwoman and Elektra. And Catwoman very infamously was considered one of the worst movies ever made. It was just panned, and so was Elektra. So that the bombing of those two movies set the stage for how Hollywood would see female-led superhero films for years, because those two movies bombed and they said, oh, people just don't want female heroes. Now, that was a big problem because it's not acknowledged that those were just really bad films. Like Catwoman 2004, once again, it regularly appears not just on worst superhero movies ever made lists, but worst movies ever lists. Like, these were just awful movies. And in Catwoman's case, it wasn't even accurate to the comics in any way, shape, or form. Also, these weren't like anomalies. Like, Hollywood was still getting its feet wet in making superhero films and taking them a bit more seriously, and their batting average was not great at the time, not at all. And so it just wasn't, it made sense that you were first venture into making these female hero films. It wasn't going to be great, especially since they were still struggling with comic accuracy and how to appeal to those fan bases, and we saw that they were really insecure about going and taking from the comics. They weren't really understanding superhero movies in general, and they were coming out with still a lot of bad stuff, and so it was really unfair to see that these films failed, they said, because people just don't want female heroes, especially since Hollywood already had successful female action stars. This was them getting into the superhero genre specifically, but that is unfortunately a bad part of how the Hollywood business has worked in the past, that these executives never ever look at quality, because and the reason why that is because sometimes you do have a quality film that kind of flies under the radar, sometimes you have a bad film that makes a lot of money for whatever reason. So that's why executives have a very hard time, like, looking at the quality of a film, because what they want to have confidence in is like the hard facts, and they always make assumptions from trends or very superficial things. So in this case, they were going to say, oh, what's the superficial thing we can see in these movies? Oh, they're female-led movies, they're not working, let's not do them. And so that really set the stage for a lot of what we see in the future of female superheroes on film, because of that, they didn't want to do a female super-led film in the MCU when that started. There was going to be a Black Widow film. Originally, as we were going to be introduced to Iron Man and Captain America and those characters leading up to the Avengers, Black Widow was supposed to get her movie. But they canned that idea because of Catwoman and Elektra failing in the past. They said Black Widow is another street-level assassin, similar to Elektra, a street-level character similar to Catwoman. She's not going to work. That is why she did not get her film. However, I'm going to get back to this later. We'll circle back to it. When Iron Man and those films were coming out, that was probably when superhero writing had really reached its peak with, like, The Dark Knight and all of that stuff. They were finally figuring out how to do it. They were finally figuring out how to make it successful. And initially, when Black Widow was in the movies as a supporting character in the Avengers, and especially Winter Soldier, she was really, really well written, and a lot of people liked her. So I think definitely a film with her could have worked at the time. It's just that these executives just would not acknowledge that the Catwoman and Elektra thing was very much because of their quality. So that's what happened. But studio executives did not have any faith in female hero-led films. But there's a lot of evidence to suggest that they assumed that it was because of these like street-level female heroes that just did not seem big enough, and that they needed a much more powerful character to work with. But for Marvel, there was a problem there because all of their most powerful female characters were mutants, and they didn't have the rights to those. Even Scarlet Witch, when she finally came along, could not be called Scarlet Witch because of the rights dispute with Fox. So Marvel, lacking a lot of confidence when it came to who their big female hero would be, because they did want to do that, started to cultivate this new character. I say new character because she'd actually been around from the 80s, but that character would be Carol Danvers, who used to be called Miss Marvel, but they changed her name to Captain Marvel because that's a more gender-neutral name. You can, ironically, they're doing a female film, but they're doing a gender-neutral name to try to get people to come to the box office. But this was a character that they started to work with, and I don't want to say the word groom, but groom, I'll say it, to be the next big hero. And the reason why this character was chosen was because she had like Superman level power, and they wanted a character to be like Superman to come in. However, Carol Danvers had some bad history, and let me explain. Carol Danvers was originally the love interest of a character named Captain Marvel, who was killed off, and in the late 70s, Marvel really wanted to push more female comic book heroes at the time, and so they made Carol Danvers into a female superhero counterpart named Miss Marvel. However, that series was an absolute failure. It lasted for maybe 20 to 30 issues, 2 or 3 years, and I bought it because Marvel started to push Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, so hard when I was getting into the MCU that I'm like, okay, I want to see this big character that they're pushing. But I was very disappointed at her first solo series because it's not that it was horrible, it was just very, very generic. She had a generic power set that was very, very similar to Superman. She dealt with very generic problems, like she was just a typical like 70s feminist character, and there was nothing wrong with any of that, but it was just like, what does she offer that any other character couldn't give you? And that's why people neglected her series, didn't pay attention to her, and the series was canceled. But what Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers, was most famous for is her series introduced two major X-Men characters. Mystique, who is one of the most famous X-Men villains of all time, was first introduced as an antagonist, a major antagonist to Carol Danvers. And of course, Rogue was introduced into that series by the very end. The Miss Marvel series ended on a very sad note because Mystique and her adopted daughter Rogue essentially destroy that woman's life. But after, it was a failed series, and it only served to springboard these other properties that became more successful because those characters were more interesting. Carol Danvers was a generic female hero. Rogue was not, because of her stealing powers. She had a damaged psyche, and that was something to be interested in. She had amazing ability, but not the ability to touch anyone, and not make physical contact with anyone, so that created a pain in the character that made her interesting. The fact that she was groomed by Mystique to be a villain and had to sort of undo that grooming also gave this character something interesting. So that's what I'm setting the stage with here, is that Carol Danvers was never interesting compared to any of the other female characters, and she floundered, not really being important for years, until the 2000s they tried to reboot her series and it failed again. And then we get to Disney trying to cultivate this character as their new female icon. But problems arose again in the comics. Captain Marvel's first series was once again pretty boring, canceled very quickly. They came out with another series for her. They rebooted her again in 2014 in what was one of the first comics I ever bought, once again, because they were just really pushing Carol Danvers. And this time they tried like a quirky Guardians of the Galaxy style thing, and it didn't work, and they canceled it again. Then they came out with Civil War II, more Captain Marvel reboots, and this time they rebooted Carol Danvers, who hadn't been working at all, into this super angry, stoic, straight-faced, narcissistic character who betrayed her friends, and at the time she was dating Rhodey in the comics. I would have to look up what happened because I've forgotten. I think she either gets him jailed or killed or something. She became a really unlikable character. So here is this character that Disney is really promoting, and people are just meh about her, but then they changed her to a character that people were just really indifferent on, to someone who was now getting a hated fan base, especially because they were pushing her so hard as to be the most important figure that you couldn't pick up a comic and not read about her. So that it created this resentment among comic book fans, and most people had no idea about this because most people don't read comics, period. But that means that when Captain Marvel the movie finally came out, it was kind of rare to be a lot of negativity, and that's how it all started. That's why people thought it was silly when people were like, oh, why doesn't Carol Danvers smile? Well, it was ridiculous to a person who doesn't know, because most superheroes make kind of a stoic face on their poster, but the reason why that controversy was built into it was because of how Captain Marvel had been portrayed in the comics. That said, as there was a lot of controversy around that probably only helped the film, because at this point, remember, nobody reads comics, so this was like a fresh character to everyone. And if the controversy did anything around Carol Danvers, it probably just helped her, because all publicity is good publicity, and people were more than willing to see this film. And the trailers made it look like just a regular Marvel action film, but then people watched the movie, and Carol Danvers once again got a really meh reaction from people. She was portrayed as a little bit narcissistic by Brie Larson, who I don't know why her acting skills just went down, but it's what's agreed upon as a really plank dead performance. The movie was a mess. The character writing was not there at all, and so even though people were very willing to see this film, they were not really, they did not really enjoy it. But they were willing to see it because people were willing to see female superhero-led films. And we saw that just a year before with Wonder Woman. That is a legitimately popular character that finally got her own movie, and everyone loved it. It was comic accurate, it was well written, and everyone really embraced it. But the problems for female superhero movies were just getting started, and this is where things really, really got bad. Black Widow as a character had been lessening popularity because after being portrayed very, very well, she was kind of wrecked. Joss Whedon tried to force her into a relationship with Bruce Banner and dedicated all of her development in Age of Ultron to that, and I think that really damaged her character. But after that, there wasn't really much time to develop anything else about her, so she kind of faded away. When they finally gave her a film, they gave her the most meh film they could. It was filled with all these problems that we would come to see as major problems with the MCU. There were too many characters. They made it a team-up movie instead of its own thing. Black Widow comics are very, very dark, and I think that a movie would have benefited from being very, very dark. This one had to play it safe. Scarlett Johansson is totally phoning in her performance, so what you get is a very boring, forgettable movie. So you have another bad female superhero film. You had Harley Quinn be very, very successful in Suicide Squad, but this is a character who is popular as a villain. They really, really overexposed her and changed her and tried to make her into their Deadpool, and on a widespread scale, that hasn't worked. People do not like the character like that. They tried to shove her in a Birds of Prey movie, even though she has never been a part of the Birds of Prey, and I knew so many girls who love comics, who despise the concept of that Birds of Prey movie, even though it was supposedly made for them because it was so comic inaccurate. As for Wonder Woman, she was just like, I remember when people adored Wonder Woman. 1984 came out, was a horrible movie, and people just rejected it full stop. So you're starting to see a little pattern here. I'm talking a lot about a lot of bad female superhero movies. Like, there's been very few that we can say are good. Was Miss Marvel great this show? I really didn't think so. Was She-Hulk great? No. People panned it and they called the show gross. Miss Marvel is another character from the comics that they really pushed. They got some comics to sell when it started, but quickly the interest in the character faded, and she was just not very popular in anything, even including in the Avengers video game. They really pushed her in. So unsurprisingly, she had the lowest viewed show on Disney Plus. And that's kind of the thesis of my video here, is that Listen, now we have Madam Web, and Madam Web, for whatever reason, is being. These female characters who've been used have either not been characters who were ever popular to begin with, or they're being used very, very badly in very, very bad movies, and especially as Hollywood waited so long to try female superheroes again. Most of these films were released at the tail end of the superhero boom when all the writing just went to pot, and all of the movies, no matter what character you are really, really, really badly written. Yet female heroes themselves are getting the blame, and I disagree with that. People have been pointing out that is the problem that they're not appealing to men as much, and superheroes are traditionally shown to be something that appeals more to men. Like the die-hard superhero films are going to, superhero fans are going to be men. Well, that might be part of it because like the Marvels and Birds of Prey especially was trying to do like this girl gang comedy team up thing, and it really didn't work. And I, as a female action movie fan, are like, if you're trying to appeal to just women who like action movies, then you are not going to appeal to us if you change the elements of action movies into something else, because we're here for action movies the way they are. So there is something to be said about that in those two movies, that they were trying to be more feminine and girly, I guess, in some ways. But generally, I don't really get that from the female superhero movies, and there still have been very few. I didn't see Black Widow or the first Captain Marvel as particularly girly or anything. They were just really bad movies. But there's this entire war going on now where people have to like use this to communicate how people feel about, and it seems like both sides are trying to say nobody wants female heroes anymore because or that they never did, just like back when Elektra and Catwoman were coming out. One side is either saying it, sort of laughing at it, saying, look, no one wants female heroes, that's why these movies bombed. And the other side is bemoaning it, saying this just shows how bad people are, that no one wants female heroes anymore, or they never did. And I'm saying, can you think for just 1 second, like, were these good movies? Did you even watch these movies? Were these characters who were popular? Are superhero movies doing well in general? For the Marvels, it's like, you gave us Captain Marvel, and she failed as a character again, like she's always failed throughout all of her history, and her big team-up is with two characters no one knows about. And Marvel, while it was at an all-time high when the first Captain Marvel came out, is at an all-time low when the Marvels was coming out, and that was like the final blow of it after declining box office sales. It's super unfair to say that people don't want female heroes, though, including men. You know, you're saying that, I know that I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but these characters from comics, these female X-Men characters I'm talking about, or the Birds of Prey property as it's done in comics, or She-Hulk as she is popular in comics, Wonder Woman, these are characters who are all made popular by men. Wonder Woman, when she first came out, was mainly read by men. So, of course, if you put out a good superhero movie that stars a female superhero, then men will watch it and they will make it successful. And if it's really good, like the same with all of the MCU, it might have been male skewing, but, you know, when I was in high school, like everyone, it didn't matter what your gender or what your age was, everyone was watching Marvel. And that when you have any sort of property that is well written and very character driven so that anyone can relate to it, that's when you're really gonna bring people together. And most people do not care about these weird wars about like female characters and who it's actually for. They just want a good movie. And that's what I'm saying when you're saying that it's all about the female characters leading movies and not being able to. It's not about that. Are these good movies? Okay, like, have one of these movies starring a female character that has bombed, has any one of them have been good? No. It's like with Madam Web, and that's what really caused this video. It's like it's a horrible movie, and like for no one. And not to mention that it's not a part of the MCU. A lot of people seem to think it's a part of the MCU. It's not, but it's a part of the Sony Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man, where they've been taking D-list Spider-Man characters like Morbius and trying to make movies out of them. Of course, Morbius bombs because no one knows who that character is. No one ever asked for a movie, and the movie itself is bad, and that's the same reason why Madam Web is bombing. It's not like proof that, oh, no one went to see Madam Web. Do you even know who that character is? So that means no one wants a female hero anymore. And the narrative's really weird. Like, people are saying, oh, Madam Web, I saw someone say Madam Web is an attack on men. What in the marketing said that? Like, the marketing made it seem like they were embarrassed about the movie. But if you watch the movie, and I know I'm one of the few people on the planet that has, and I feel a little privileged for that, like, it was an attack on people's brain cells, but but the movie itself doesn't have anything like that. It's like if your standard, it feels like a CW pilot that was shelved and you were never supposed to see it, but it came out anyway. By the way, it's an amazing bad movie. You should watch it. But Madam Web is not proof that people don't want to see female heroes. People will see a male or a female hero if it's in a good movie, but there are great female heroes that we haven't seen explored yet. And right now it seems like there's a little touch of Hollywood going back into the mode that they did with Catwoman and Elektra, where they're blaming the fact that these movies are bombing not on their quality, but the fact that they star female heroes. What I want to see going forward is just better written female characters, and take it from your pool of female characters that are actually popular. Like, if I know I obsess about Rogue too much on this channel, but I will again. I'm saying, if you did an X-Men movie, and you've already made Wolverine kind of the star of all the original ones, so if you wanted to pick a new character to sort of be the lead in a team-up movie, then you could easily do Rogue. You could easily tell a first character arc about her struggling with these powers that she sees as a curse, and learning to accept them and learning to embrace who she is. Like, you could do a character, she's a very flawed character, but a character that you can really root for. I would just love it if you could have a new female action hero that we could actually root for, and that everyone would like, and that everyone would really enjoy her story, and that could really bring people together. And it would show you that no, most people are normal. They're not into these weird, like, arguments over this kind of stuff. They just want an entertaining story. And so that's what I want to see going forward. Just for once, maybe don't blame the female characters themselves. Maybe blame the writers. Maybe blame the marketers who didn't have the foresight to understand, like, which character is going to be marketable or not. You know, I think that Marvel is a little bit overblown on how well they were able to market, like, D-list characters no one cared about. That was only really true for Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, Iron Man and Captain America weren't super popular, but they had been going on in comics for decades. They still had their built-in fan bases. Captain Marvel, failed character every time, did not. Madam Web, no one knows about. Yeah, that was never going to work. No one ever said that. Hopefully Hollywood has not taken this, like, bad thought process to heart. James Gunn does have a Supergirl movie coming out, if we see that getting made. And let's say Supergirl is a property that's very popular, and if it's really well written, then that could be popular, because no one cares if it's a male or female protagonist. They just want a good character they can relate to. And men definitely will go see a movie starring a female protagonist if she is likable or interesting, or they can empathize with her, or any of the three. And there are just so many good, and even though I said, like, it doesn't really matter what gender the character is, there are still a lot great female heroes that have great personalities that we haven't gotten to see yet, that I really do want to see, and that's why I am still rooting for it. You just have to do it better. You have to be actually smart about it. And that's all I got for today. But no, Madam Web is not more proof that no one wants female heroes. It's proof that the superhero genre, as you keep churning out horrifically awful films, is still gonna flounder for everyone involved. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much, patrons, for supporting my channel. If you would like to support my channel and more videos, you can become a patron. Look at the link in the description and see if you're interested in that. I am a filmmaker. I am working on a short film. I'm sorry I had to put it off because I have so many projects I'm working on, but it is coming out. So stick around the channel for that. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.